Hello everyone, and welcome to another video in the series of the World Federation of Music Therapy Research and Ethics Commission for 2023 to 2026 Council. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce you to Bettina Flater, and she is a PhD research fellow at the Norwegian Academy of Music. Bettina, will you tell us a bit about yourself just to get started?
Yes, I have been actually a flamenco guitarist for 20 years, so I'm also just relatively recently gotten my music therapy degree.
Yeah.
I've worked as a music therapist for a few years before starting this PhD candidacy, which has been so exciting. So this is my first dive into research, but I do bring with me some life experience, I hope, having traveled a good deal through my work as a guitarist and also having grown up in Kenya. So I feel I have traveled a lot and I've met people from many cultures, places, and walks of life.
Yeah. So how long are you now in your project, PhD project?
I just had my midterm evaluation a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's just very exciting to feel that now it kind of really starts funneling into the project itself. You know, the educational part of the program is pretty much completed from my part. And now I just have to dive into article writing and yeah, the project itself.
Will you just tell a bit more about your project and what methodologies you are used to using, or topics and so on?
Yes. So the title of the project is Heart Rate Variability and Subjective Experience in Music Therapy and Mental Health Care, an exploratory participatory study. So we explore the interface between biology and biography. We do music therapy sessions with these vests around us called equividal vests that measure heart rate, they measure movement, they measure breathing. So respiration and movement are used to kind of as controls. And the measure we use, the biological measure we use, is heart rate variability. So we measure our subjective experiences up against heart rate variability and see if there are any correlations. So just a quick sentence about what heart rate variability is and what it's about.
Yeah.
So heart rate variability is based on the fact that every heartbeat is unique. There are small differences in what they call the interbeat interval, like the space between one heartbeat and the next. The heart doesn't beat metronomically, and certainly a healthy heart doesn't, because these small differences in the interbeat intervals are signs of health, both physical health and mental health. So we basically look for correlations between what's happening in us subjectively and what our heart is saying.
Wow, that's so cool. And so
yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So
yeah. Do you have any findings so far?
not really, because data collection is just finished. I think from the pilots, what I've just seen very kind of preliminarily, which also is in line with HRV research generally, is that we all react very individually. You know, that our heart responds to different things, which I think is also very in line with how we think as music therapists, you know?
Yeah.
The heavy metal song that might stress many people out will really relax the person who's into heavy metal. You
Yeah.
know? So it'll be really exciting to dive in. And there was another very interesting instance that happened in the pilots as well, where me and one of the co-researchers, because there are two participants in the study, I should say, and both are also co-researchers. So we're measuring heart variability on all three of us. We're doing music therapy together. We're evaluating and planning everything together. So I involve them as much as you know, kind of the PhD project and economy allow for. Sorry, losing my train of thought here because there's so many things I want to talk about. But yes, so another interesting finding from the one of the pilots was that in one of the sessions, the co-researcher wanted to do a song which I didn't remember very well. So we did the song together, and of course I messed up, and I made her nervous, and everything was, you know. And then we said, well, we have to do it again. We did it again with, you know, listening to the recording on Spotify, and then we did the same song a third time, having already done it a couple of times. So you could say that the first time we got very stressed out, the second time we were, you know, and the third time we were most relaxed. And this also got completely reflected in the heart rate variability scores.
Oh, it
Yeah,
did.
so there's like this kind of staircase of both our heart rate variability being pretty low when we felt like challenged, and then going up for the second rendition of the song, and going up again for the third rendition of the song. So that was like fun. I mean,
yeah,
of course, you know, this is such a small study, and there's bias everywhere, and there will be nothing that kind of even approaches significance here, but it is an exploratory study. So the hope is to kind of, you know, through this, maybe generate some kind of hypothesis that can be tested maybe in a postdoc study. That's the dream anyway. We'll see where it takes us.
But you mentioned co-researchers.
Yes.
Can you tell a bit more about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I started the PhD, I didn't know that participatory research existed. So, but I did know that there was two of my former clients that I definitely wanted to include in the study, because both seemed to benefit a lot from music therapy. And then when I discovered that participatory research was a possibility, I asked them both, you know, if they would consider being co-researchers as well. And I think that's the best decision I've made in the whole study. Two amazing women who are very resourceful, creative, intelligent. Both have done a lot of speaking about, you know, their experience in the mental health system, and, you know, both have pasts that are kind of marked by trauma, and they're just very kind of resourceful women that really give a lot of insight into the study. You know, one of the pillars of participatory research is valuing experiential knowledge, which I think is very important. And it's like, it kind of came out of, in the 70s, you started realizing that a conventional research wasn't actually helping the groups that it was focused on. So you kind of then decide, well, rather let's do research with these groups rather than on or for them.
Yeah. Do you know any other research in music therapy that use co-researchers?
Actually, you know, I'm kind of surprised because I feel that participatory research has a profile that fits so well with music therapy, you know?
Yeah.
But I haven't found so many studies. Our very own Brynjulf Stige was a kind of pioneer in participatory research, and his community music therapy is kind of, I think, based on a study he did in the 80s. Lasse Tuastad, also from Bergen, has also done a participatory research study in his PhD. And there are a few. In the 2016 Wheeler research book, research and music therapy book, there is an article by Katrina McFerrin and Bettina Flater on action research, which is, of course, very closely related to participatory research. And they have a list of, I think, 17 studies since the year 2000, but only 3 or 4 of them were actually participatory action research studies.
Okay.
And since then, there have been a few. There is, for example, one Suzanne Metzner, I think her name is, who has done a participatory research study on women with endometriosis, which is very exciting. So, but I would almost expect there to be more.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it's really suitable for music therapy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you said.
And I think it's also on the rise, you know?
Yeah. Might be more in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now we talked about this co-research, yeah, like to include co-researchers. But if you think about your project as a whole, how does your research compare to other projects you know about in music therapy? Like,
Yeah.
Do you know any other projects that are related to what you are interested in?
My first article is actually going to be a systematic review.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Of HRV research in music therapy. So I found about 25 studies.
Yeah.
But I think this one is quite unique in that we kind of, the focus is maybe very small with only us 3 participants. And that we're really kind of going into the exploratory. We're kind of not really bothering with trying to get any significant results or making anything quantitative. Of course, the biological readings in themselves are quantitative, but
yeah.
But yeah, this is actually one of the things I was thinking about with respect to kind of music therapy research and what makes music therapy valuable. And it's like I feel being a research fellow here at the Norwegian Academy of Music, I'm so glad to be part of the music therapy group because there is so much meaning in it. You know, you're actually using music in a way that actually has concrete benefit in the outside world, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that as music therapists, we really we try a lot to pander to this kind of quantitative world. And of course it's important, and quantitative results are of course so important. But I really think that the essence of music therapy lies in these values that we have. And kind of really trying to skräddarsy, I would say in Norwegian, but kind of tailor each music therapy session to what each client needs then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my discussion with the co-researchers, this is really something that comes through, you know, that they feel music therapy is so valuable because how they feel or their needs then and there can be met, you know?
Yeah.
In a way that's non-invasive and kind of very comfortable, I think. One of them had this amazing quote that I love that, you know, in conventional therapy, you're supposed to talk about difficult things, which makes it very hard to talk about difficult things.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky that we have the music that can kind of envelop everything and let people choose how much or how little they want to share.
Yeah, it's very wise said of the.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have a lot of gold nuggets in this.
And like it's so interesting to get their perspectives.
Absolutely.
On what's happening and not just guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you know, hear their voice. That's so great. What kind of research has inspired you, Bettina, like from around the globe?
Oh, wow. Well, I think, again, I would say that I'm very kind of inspired by the music, by the Norwegian music therapy kind of line of thought. Randi Rolfsjord, Hans Petter Solli, Gro Trondalens relational therapy, music therapy. And I just feel this, what inspires me in music therapy, I think, is in music therapy research as well, that even when you kind of go into the quantitative world, people don't leave behind this idealism and this will to help, you know, this kind of real concern for people. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also curious in like what inspired you to do this project? What motivated you to do this PhD project? Could you tell a bit about that?
Yes, I think working in mental health care as a music therapist, I really felt that I had insight into other sides of people than my colleagues, and there was like, you know, amazing people I worked with that all kind of created this complete team. Often in team meetings, I would feel like there was so much focus on medication, there was so much focus on what the person couldn't do. And I would be like sitting in with these, but this person writes amazing poetry, or this person has worked with women in the Balkans, or this woman had or man, or you know, had a relationship with their grandfather that really marked them, or you know, you would have kind of insight into completely different things, and especially resources, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt that often the person who really was most important in the room wasn't treated as the most important person in the room. Expert knowledge was really valued so highly, and much more highly than the experiential knowledge of the person. And so that's what kind of made me want to. I realized that whenever I spoke about music in the brain or anything that was biologically oriented, people's ears would prick up in mental health care. I mean, these are people that come from often a medical tradition, like nurses and doctors and or psychiatrists, obviously. And so my wish with this project is to kind of use that language to argue for the importance of actually experiential knowledge. And another kind of gold nugget from my co-researchers is that they felt that like music therapy is an antidote to standardization. And I think you know, conventional research and all this quantitative, I mean, it's all about what is good for the average person or what can help across the board, but the average person doesn't exist.
No.
And it's like you have kind of these standardized forms of care that you try to kind of pull over people's heads, and every person, I think, really knows best what is best for them, and that is kind of what we have to encourage rather than trying to tell people what they need, you know? In a way, I feel that mental health care does like this double whammy, because there's all this focus on getting people out on, you know, maybe before they feel they're ready, they're kind of denied the help that they feel. But then when they are in healthcare, there's not this trust in them to know what's best for them, you know?
Yeah. I'm also curious about because now you explain it to me. I'm a music therapist as well, but how do you explain your research to other people who are not music therapists? Could you put that?
Absolutely. I feel that's like one of the greatest challenges. You know, the elevator pitch, just like,
Yeah.
I would feel like I have so much I want to talk about. And how do I kind of distill this in a way that's kind of motivating and exciting and kind of concisely explains what I'm trying to do? But I think this kind of exploring the interface between biology and biography is is kind of very important and very kind of universal, and also arguing for the value of experiential knowledge. I basically want to make people in mental health care listen to, which of course, when I put my researcher hat on and we're looking at the HRV, I have to put that aside. This is an exploratory study, and I'm, we really want to work kind of from the data. What does the data say? And I think that'll be interesting and exciting to find. And it might not, support this kind of activistic side of me that kind of maybe motivates me to do the project. But yeah.
What is it like to communicate that it's both like HRV,
yes,
like statistics, but also it is co-researchers, and it's exploratory. Is it?
Yes.
How does people respond to this combination when you tell about that?
Well, I think I have to learn to do with my own project what I'm like saying that I want to do, to kind of bring the biology and the biography together. I feel like I must confess that I feel as of now, and the kind of midterm evaluation made that quite clear as well, that it's still kind of fragmented in me, or in the project, I think I would say, that I still haven't found that, I hope that maybe data analysis will lead to something concrete that we can use as a springboard, But I really do believe that if I can achieve that, that would be kind of the strength of the study, So
yeah. There is something there in the combination.
Absolutely, I think so. And I think heart rate variability is a very exciting kind of parameter to be studying as well. It's all, these, this so-called quantified self movement, everyone running around with their polar watches and measuring their stress and everything. Most of those stress levels are based on HRV. So HRV is very much in fashion now, in a way, you can say, right? And there's very much exciting research going on. And there's also a lot we have to learn. And, very many kind of the serious HRV researchers are very skeptical to this whole, live your life by, by the watch, what the watch says and what the stress levels. But yeah, it's really fascinating to dive into. And I think especially it is quite kind of compatible to music therapy as well, in that it's very individual, like I said. HRV also opens up for a salutogenic approach to health, where you focus rather on promoting health than on pathology. So, there are kind of, I think that in itself is kind of an empowering parameter, if you will.
Yeah. And like why do you think well, I guess you think we need more research when you do this project, but why do we need more research? Why is it necessary to do more research in music therapy? Could you say a bit about that as well?
I think we live in a world where expert knowledge is valued very highly, and research is valued very highly, and research is a very important way in to open for funding, open for that music therapy can become more established. That I think that is in essence it's really important in research, this kind of marriage between research and practice, that we don't kind of get lost in the woods of kind of theorizing, and has to have some practical benefit in real life. And I think music research is important to justify the practice, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think, you know, when I wrote my master's degree, for example, I was working simultaneously at this mental health institute, and it was just so, it felt so mutually enriching to be in practice and at the same time be theorizing, you know? I used some vignettes from the workplace in my master's thesis, and it was just really interesting to reflect over things that happened in the day-to-day, you know, using.
Thank you. And we know there are many who are wondering, should I go into research, or should I just keep doing my practice? But what would you say to someone who is like considering doing music therapy research?
I would say go for it.
Go for it, yeah.
Yeah. I think, but I think also we all have our paths. And, you know, I was at a PhD defense here for a few months ago of a music therapist who was very clear on the fact that she was like, I learned through doing my PhD that I want to do practice, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that really has so much value, and really, I think that's kind of, again, to this thing of experiential knowledge and how we value expert knowledge so highly, and how academia and academic knowledge is valued so highly. I think we really want to make life better for people. And I think the best way to do that really is just music therapy practice.
Yeah. Also, I guess it's possible to do different sizes of project. You don't need to do a PhD. You can do like some interviews. You can write case studies. That's a smaller studies. So yeah, I guess that is an opportunity. You don't need to have 3 years just doing research, but many ways. Yeah. We need more research.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and I feel like, you know, also I think we need to prioritize, you know, we live in a society that prioritizes business and prioritizes academia. And then while there are people in the mental health system, for example, that are not getting the help they need, you know?
Yeah.
So I actually had this amazing experience yesterday.
Okay.
One of my co-research has just finished a year at Faringsskolen, the experience school, I guess you would translate it as in English, to become like a peer consultant. There are, you know, several positions opening now for peer consultants in Oslo and in the rest of Norway too, I believe. It's definitely a growing field. And it just really was so moving to see, you know, people that have really fought their whole lives and you know, overcome so much. And then they stood, you know, at the end of this education with their diploma. Most of them had already gotten positions working as peer consultants, and it just felt really important and really positive, because I think, I mean, I know for myself as a therapist that it's the hardest things I've been through that actually were my best tools, or you know, allowed me to, I think when you kind of felt things physically on your body, you know, not that, you know, I've had a very safe and happy childhood, but the traumatic incidents I've been through in my life are what gave me kind of the capacity to really understand, you know? And I think that's so important. And I feel that in mental health care, one thing that I would really want to fight for is to kind of bring up this hero narrative. Because that's another thing I felt in team meetings, that here we are talking about how this person maybe doesn't have employment, doesn't have a flat, maybe they're not eating properly, maybe they don't manage this, they don't manage that. But for so many people, the fact that they're still alive today after what they've experienced, the fact that they're still standing after what they've been through, you know, that really just, they deserve all our accolades and all our support. And so, yeah, I hope really we can try to create a society where you can kind of help people to re-enter the workplace and re-enter kind of society in a way where their knowledge can be drawn from, because it's such a resource, you know, but also that you can make concessions and kind of have this understanding for, well, maybe this person can't come to work today because they had flashbacks or they got triggered by something, or, you know, so yeah.
Society where it's room for that kind of experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and kind of value it as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing, another gold nugget from my co-researchers was that they really appreciated music therapy because it was a place where there was this natural transfer of power in a place where there naturally was an imbalance in power, you know, and I think that's really the magic of music, you know, and especially of the approach we have in music therapy, where we don't come in as band leaders. I mean, we can, of course, in certain settings, that's, you know, but you're actually really just playing music together, and nobody needs to be leading. We can just be communicating as equals, you know.
Yeah.
These micro interactions. Music is just such a gift for us.
It is, really.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think we are going towards an end, but is there anything more you would like to say about your project or other things that comes to your mind?
I think if there's any little thing that I'm feeling very much now, because we just had a meeting on Sunday, me and my co-researchers, and that voyage with them is just so educational. And I had no idea like how much stigma there is in our society, and how, you know, and how many challenges they face that we're actually not aware of. Like, for example, one thing that came up was how, and this is apparently, I understand, like a general feeling that not only they feel, but many people they know, that when you're in a kind of somatic medicine setting, as soon as somebody sees your psychiatric diagnosis, you kind of get categorized and judged, you know, and stigmatized. Things like this, and how difficult it is actually to get help and get the help you need. So I think these are things that are really important to bring up from under the surface.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be open about trauma and be open about, you know, things that happen, you know, that it's not their shame to bear what happened, you know. It's like I think we have in Norwegian kind of mythology, we have this thing that, you know, when trolls are in sunlight, they burst, you know. And I think there's a lot of wisdom often in these old stories. And I really do feel the same about, you know, whether it's sexual abuse or neglect or violence, or that if we can really build a society that's open and tolerant for these things. And I think music therapy is just this amazing way to get there. Because through music, we can express these things in a way that where we're kind of less vulnerable, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been so exciting to hear your reflections, both about your research and other themes. And I just want to say thank you so much for
Monica,
for your contribution to our research videos. And I think, like you said, it sounds so sounds so suitable for music therapy projects to include coping methods. And I also think it's so exciting, this combination of HRV and more exploratory part. So I just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure we will hear a lot more from you, both in like publications and conferences. And we're looking forward to that.
And thank you so much for this interview. It's like an honor to have been interviewed here in this kind of prestigious forum. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.